Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to another card making video. So today I wanted to share with you just a couple of Hunkydory products that I picked up. This was when they had like their birthday sale on, and then I picked both of these sets of stamps and both sets of dies for quite cheap. They're really big sets. This is part of their Birthday Bonanza set. So you can see on the back here they've got quite a few sort of coordinating products. They've got some embossing folders and some stencils. So I purchased this first stamp set. Is called Birthday Wishes, and you can see you've got some really big, fabulous sentiments in there. And then we've also got this Birthday Wishes die set, and this coordinates really perfectly with this stamp set. And again, really, really big. The second one I've picked up, this is Party Pieces. So we've got the coordinating die set with this as well. And there's just loads of really fabulous images in here. You'll be able to mix this with lots of other sets that you've got to create some really fabulous sort of birthday inspired cards and projects. So today I'm actually going to be creating a birthday card for my sister. I don't actually know if she watches my videos. If you do, happy birthday, Molly. So I'm going to make a big card. So this isn't quite the direction that I thought I was going to take. This ends up being quite cutesy, which again wasn't really where I was going with this. Comment down below as you're watching this how old you think she's going to be, and at the end I'm going to tell you how old she's going to be, and then you'll see whether the card actually goes with her age. So you've seen a couple of the paper packs I'm going to be using. I don't actually end up using this bare paper anymore. What I wanted is to have a really fun background, and I've created this smaller piece. So this is an 8x8 card. This smaller piece is 5x5 because I wanted you to be able to see around the outside, and then I'm going to create a little scene in here. So I've taken some other patterned paper, just because I didn't really want to do any ink blending or anything like that today. So I've just taken some patterned paper. You can see I've created just two really quick and easy hills. And I've taken a couple of images. So these are just little bunny rabbit images, and I've coloured these in using my TriBlend markers. They were just images that I had just lying around for ages, and I thought this would be really perfect for her card. But I think this is then what ended up kind of making it again look a little bit cutesy, maybe a little bit of a younger card. But like I said, I don't end up using that background. I do swap that out for a really nice sort of foiled, kind of like a balloon background. But the first thing I'm going to do is do some stamping with the Party Pieces die set. So I've just got some regular cardstock here that I'm going to be inking onto, and because I want to stamp quite a few of these at once, I'm going to pop this into just my stamping platform. It means I can arrange everything that I want to, and then I can stamp it all in one go. So I'm just going to arrange them on here. You've got some really big, beautiful stamps in here. As much as I love sort of smaller stamps, you know, if you are making smaller cards, I do really, really love having bigger sets. It just means then that you're able to really see what the images are. You can create bigger cards without having to fill loads of bits and pieces in. So it is just a nice difference to have a bigger set. Originally what I was going to do was with the presents, because there's 3 different sizes with different kinds of wrapping paper on it. I did created a mask for the stamp that you can see here, and I did stamp the other 2 so they were behind it, but I didn't end up using it only because the way I coloured it in, I just didn't think it looked very nice. The colours didn't go with each other in the slightest. I think I just kind of picked colours out at random, so I don't end up using the presents. I did end up off camera cutting and colouring in the birthday cake, or the cupcake, and I think there was and a party hat as well to go on top of one of the rabbits. So you can see I've got everything arranged within my stamping platform. The balloons, I am going to stamp these again, so we're going to have 2 sets of these. I also really love that little dog balloon as well. I think that is super, super cute. That's actually going to go on the inside of our card. So if you do end up stamping lots of images that you don't end up using on the front of your card, you can then just use them on the inside and start decorating the inside of your cards, just to kind of really finish your cards off nicely. So as always, using the Memento Tuxedo black ink. This is alcohol friendly, and we're going to use the TriBlend markers to colour these in. So like I said, we're going to use the TriBlend markers to colour these in, then we're going to then we're going to die cut them afterwards. I find it easier to do it that way, but of course you do sort of whichever way you find it best. And you can see those presents there. Like I said, I created a mask for that middle present, and then just stamped the 2 on either side, and that gives the impression that that middle present is in front of the other ones. Of course, because I've combined these stamps together, there isn't a die that's going to fit this, so I did end up fussy cutting it, but like I said, I didn't end up using it. So just going to do some really quick and easy colouring here with the markers. Because we've got so many images, I don't need anything to be kind of too fancy. We're just going to create a really, really lovely scene here. So just really easily using our TriBlend markers the same way we always do. I did try to go, I've been kind of practicing a little bit more, going from dark to light. I don't necessarily think it's a difference. I think if you're perhaps a bit more of a beginner, that might make a little bit of a difference to you, because if you lay down the lighter colour first, you've just got a little bit more control. But I like to just try it both ways just to sort of see how I get on. The other thing that I've noticed, which is a bit ironic, is obviously been talking a lot more about the TriBlend markers recently, talking about the refills, getting obviously the extra pens that go with the set. So I am still missing 4, so I do need to have a look and see when they come back into stock on the Craft Stash website. But I have noticed the more we've talked about it, the more some of my older pens that I'm using, that I use more and more, are starting to run out. So my citrus green blend, that's starting to run out in the light end. That's the other reason why I'm starting to go a little bit more from dark to light, so then I'm not using sort of twice as much ink on one image. But I have to sort of see how far we can stretch it, and just hope that one day they do bring out those refills for the TriBlend markers. So you can see here, I'm just taking the coordinating dies. The other thing I really, really love about Hunkydory dies is they have just an outline of the die on the packaging itself, because there's nothing worse than taking all of the dies off, you know, if you're cutting everything, and then you can't actually fit it all back onto the packaging the way you took it off. So I really love that, and then I always just make an effort just to try and line it back up again. And the other thing as well is none of them are connected. They're all standalone. You don't have to cut any of them apart. It just makes things so much easier. I have found before, I've got quite a big pair of snips, and I just find that I always end up with little bits, whether it's sharp, sometimes end up with the bits on the floor, the bits that I've cut off. I just prefer it. I much prefer it like this. I just think it's so much easier for the consumer to use, and it's sort of less work for us, because there's nothing worse than of getting this product, wanting to use it, than having to sit and sort of snip everything apart. That's just my personal preference. The other thing I really like about this is they've got little labels in there. I haven't seen this with any of their bigger sets, but it does sort of say if you've got the rosette, if you've got the bottle, the cupcake. It's just got little labels on there, so you know what that sort of goes with. So you can see all I'm doing is using some low-tack purple tape just to hold these coordinating dies in place. They're actually really easy to line up as well. Nothing is sort of off-center or anything. I did find that all of them cut out really perfectly, and you can just see there the presents that I coloured in. I was kind of going for some odd colour combinations and trying to go as easy as possible with the colouring, but in the end I just thought they looked really odd. They didn't really fit in with the rest of the images that I'd coloured, so that's, like I said, I decided not to use it. So I'm just going to run this through my Gemini die cutter machine. So I have recently purchased this. I haven't really talked about it much. If you maybe want to see a video on it, let me know in the comment section down below. I've been watching a couple of videos recently just talking about plate combinations, how best to not have your plates warp. Mine have warped quite a bit, and I am trying at the moment just a suggestion that Jennifer Maguire made about your plates not actually warping, but we'll see how that goes. So you can see everything's cut really beautifully. I do run this back through again just to cut out those additional balloons, but you can see this banner here, like I said, it's just cut so perfectly. So this is the backing paper that I decided to go for instead. I just think it worked a little better with the images and the way we've coloured those in. Like I said, not the card that I was planning to make. I was planning to make something completely different. This is just how it ended up, but I am still going to give it to my sister. So again, in the comment section down below, let me know how old you think she is based on this card, and I'll tell you at the end. But what I'm actually going to do first is we're going to decorate the inside of the card. So I've taken these candles, these like bunch of candles, and I think this is such a beautiful image. It's really great just for continuing it on. And what I'm going to do is actually just stamp this all the way across the bottom of the card. It's just going to decorate the inside and just make it a little bit nicer. So I've used the wild mushroom, and if I'm stamping like this, a bit more of a watermark, I don't want anything to stand out too much. I do find that using this wild mushroom is a perfect, this is almost like a brown grey kind of colour, and I just think you get a better colour and a better image rather than using like the light greys. I think it's grey mist. I think it's just a little bit too light. I'm going to stamp this all the way across the bottom. Of course, if you were to use this on the front of your card, I think this would look really beautiful if you coloured this in, did a bit of watercolour to colour this in as well. So many different ways that you could use this small stamp. And, you know, putting it across the bottom of this card, you would just assume that this was one big stamp, but it's not. It's just a bunch. They just sit so well together because they overlap slightly in the actual image itself. You don't have to be too perfect in the way that you stamp it. I just think it works. I think it works really well. Then I'm going to take just a couple of sentiments. So because we've got that at the bottom, I'm going to put a couple more images inside as well. So I didn't want my sentiment to be kind of too busy, then there would be no room for me to actually write in the card. So I've just picked two of these sort of smaller sentiments, and rather than stamping this in black, I decided then to stamp this in the orange and the fire coral. I can't remember what the orange one is called now. Just to, again, add a little bit more interest to the inside of the card. So we've got this really great bold "It's your birthday," and then underneath we've got "Let's celebrate," so that's in that fire coral colour. You have got like a banner and things in that sentiment pack as well in the stamp set, and that would be perfect. I'd imagine these are going to fit perfectly in there, so if you are combining a couple of them together, I think that's just a really great set to have in your stash and have something just a little bit different. So now let's put together the front of our card. So I wanted to mat and layer this, so I just used some gold mirror cards. Obviously this is then going to fit in really nicely with this pattern paper we've got at the back, because that has got some of the balloons foiled as well. And I just think the colours are really soft, that gold, I just think it works really, really perfectly with it. This would make a really fantastic like first birthday card, anything like that. Like I said, not the card I was planning to make for my sister. So let's put our scene together. So with the hills, I've only put tape sort of at the bottom, maybe just in the middle, just to then allow you, if you want to sort of tuck any of the images just behind, like you can see that I'm doing now, I've still got the flexibility to be able to do that. So I want my banner to go across. I am across the top. I am going to write on this. I do end up cutting one down to make it fit happy birthday, because it ended up being one piece of bunting too many, so I just cut that down slightly, but you could, you know, as long as you could fit it in there, you could pretty much write anything within that bunting that you wanted to, and it means then that you can use it for any card. I have stuck a couple of the images together already, so you can see the bunny rabbit we've got on the card. I've just glued two of the balloons together and then glued that just behind its hand, so it's really beautiful. It looks like it's holding those balloons. There is another rabbit, you can see that I've just picked up there. I've done the same thing with that one balloon, and I've also then cut the hat as well. With the hat, it's got sort of a line for the inside. All I did was cut along it to make it look like it's wearing it, and just the way this bunny rabbit is, that it's been drawn, it sits really perfectly on its head. The one rabbit that I do actually really love, and I think this would be perfect for if you're combining this Party Pieces stamp set with really any other stamp set that you've got. I think it's going to work perfectly with lots of sets that you might already have. Is putting those glasses, those star glasses on the rabbit. I know it's upside down at the moment, but I just think that looks so cute. Really reminds me kind of Elton John a little bit. But the main thing I wanted to say was I think this stamp set like this, because it's quite basic in its design, there's nothing too kind of specific on here that means that it's birthday. It could be graduation, it could just be like congratulations, it could be new baby, it could be for older cards, for younger cards. I think it's so versatile, and like I said, if you mix it with any other set that you've already got, it just means then you'll be able to stretch all of your other stamp sets a lot further. So you can see the additional stamp that I said that I stamped and cut out was that cupcake. I thought that was really, really beautiful. You know, you could colour that in any colours that you wanted to, and I just think it would look really, really yummy. So we've got that on the front. I am gonna pop that onto some foam pads just to raise that up a little bit. So you can see I'm just popping that down now, and like I said, it's just going to add a little bit more interest. I really love the way that the bunnies are kind of looking at the cupcake as well. I just think the whole thing just works really perfectly together. The adhesive I'm using is just this glue. This came from my nan. I'm not actually really sure what glue it is. It's the same glue as the white glue that I use, which is like Anita's tacky glue or something like that, but this is actually clear. And it's not a bad glue actually. Like I said, it's the first time I've really used it, the last sort of few cards that I've created. But yeah, it does work quite well, and I do find that the nozzle on it is quite good. It is quite small. So the one thing I'm going to do is just to kind of ground our cupcake a little bit. This isn't something that I've really done too much. I'm not overly great at it, if I'm being honest with you. It's just to add a little bit of shadow underneath it, and like I said, it's just going to kind of grind it onto our card. I should have done it really for the rabbits as well, but I didn't end up doing that. But it just makes it look like they're not just kind of floating about on the card. So I'm just going to glue down the other elements of our card and our scene here. So again, so we've got the bunny in the right hand corner. Because that one's slightly looking up, I wanted that at the bottom of the card, so it was looking up at the cake. So we've got one at the back then, which is kind of angled up slightly, but that looks like it's looking at the cupcake as well. And for this other one that's got the glasses on, I'm just going to stick this on a foam pad as well. This foam pad isn't as thick as the ones on the cupcake, but I just wanted that to kind of stand out, just so it made it look like it was in the foreground of the actual card. I literally love that rabbit so much. I think that is actually the cutest thing I've ever seen. So to pop our panel onto our card itself, I wanted to raise it up, but didn't really have any foam pads. And sometimes I don't put enough foam pads on it to support the whole of the panel. So I've just taken some funky foam. So I've shown you guys this before. I've cut this down to be smaller than what my card is. And this is just going to help support the card across the entire panel. It doesn't poke out any of the sides, so you're not going to see that. It's completely even. If you are sending cards through the post and you want to use like foam pads for big areas like this, I would recommend maybe looking at something like funky foam. It's really quite inexpensive. I bought a pack from the range and it came with white, black and grey. The black and the white is great for things like this. The black I use to go behind die cuts to add dimension to that. I just think it works really, really well. So I would recommend giving it a try if it's something that you do. So just going to pop this into the centre of our card here. Then we can put on our bunting, and then really this card is all finished. So I'm hoping that you guys have stuck with me this far. I know I've sort of talked quite a bit over this video, but I really wanted to show you all the sort of different things that I did to build this card up. And it's a little bit more of a special make for me, like I said, because it is for my sister for her birthday. I just kind of wanted to take a little bit more time out to create her a really, really nice card. So like I said to you earlier, I wrote happy birthday on this, and it was just one piece of bunting too big, so I just snipped that down. But with this, you could get really creative. You could personalise your cards. Again, like I said, this set could be used for lots of different occasions. So like I said, if you just put a little bit of thought into what you put on this banner, you know, like I said, you could really personalise your cards and projects. I used quite a thin pen. This is a 0.1. I did end up going back over it with a 0.4, I think it was, and to be honest, it looked a little untidy. I wish that I had just sort of slowed down and just took my time a little bit more, but I mean, it's not a huge bunting anyway, but yeah, I still think it looked quite nice on the card. So I glued down the bits that was actually on the card panel itself. So I was going to have this just sort of going straight across the card rather than at an angle like this. But then I had those balloons sort of higher up the card obviously these pieces then sort of came off, so I did just stick a foam pad just behind each of the end ones, just so they were attached onto the actual card itself. And then really the last thing to do with this card is, because I've got a couple of these elements left over, I'm going to pop those on the inside of my cards. Like I said, you don't just have to you know, stamp on the inside. Obviously that's a sort of easy thing to do, but if you do any of these die cutting, you know, if you've coloured any of these images in, then of course use it to decorate the inside. So I've got that dog balloon, which I just think is absolutely adorable, and then I just took one of the rabbits as well and just sort of turned it into a little bit of a balloon. So again, it just kind of makes the outside similar to what's on the inside of the card. Like I said, it just sort of finishes it off really nicely. So again, I'm just going to kind of angle this rabbit that's sort of led down, quite happy, just at the bottom of our sentiment, and then all I do is just draw a little string line just to turn the dog into a proper balloon. And I just think it finishes this card off really, really nicely. So that is our finished card. You can see it here. And I really love the way that this has come out. I think this would be perfect, like I said, for lots of different kinds of occasions, lots of different birthday ages. This particular card, I think, would look better going to somebody obviously a lot younger. So if I tell you my sister is turning 17, so not quite the card, like I said, that I was planning to make, or maybe necessarily the card you'd give to a 17-year-old, but I still really love this card. I love my sister, so I really wanted to have this handmade card. So that's it for this video. I really do hope that you stuck with me through this whole video, and like I said, I know it is a little bit on the long side. If you did like this video, if you like this card, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. So thanks very much for watching, and happy crafting.